Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Vicky and today I'm going to be talking about the must-have mods that you have to have in your game. I've already done a video on how to install mods, so if you need to know how to do that, I will link that video below in the description. Now, before we get cracking, I just want to say that there are hundreds of Sims 3 mods out there, and a lot of them are down to personal preference. But the question of which mod shall I put in my game is one that always gets asked. So I've tried to narrow it down to my top 10-ish favourite mods that I think that you should definitely have in your game. First up is Nraas Master Controller and Master Controller Cheats. The description says this mod adds countless options that allow you to easily control and change just about anything in your Sims town. That sums it up. This for me is an essential mod. Now with Master Controller there are additional modules and the main one I use is Master Controller Cheats, and you need to have the main Master Controller installed in your game to get Master Controller Cheats. I'm going to put them as one mod because I don't even know how to separate the two because they completely work hand in hand. On the website, if you go into the documentation tab, it will show you all the interactions that you can do with Master Controller, and it is fast. So definitely have a look and see what you can do with this. My favorite things to do with this mod is to allow more than 8 Sims into a household. If you do have that, you will need a portrait panel mod as well, so they actually show up in your game. And with this mod, you can literally tweak everything about your Sim. You can set their career level, their skills, their skill level, absolutely everything. You can change their occult status. You can change them into a Simbot should you wish to, or a ghost, or anything you want. You can change their gender preference so they're more inclined to actually have relationships with certain sexes. You can change relationships, so if you create a new Sim you can then add their parents that might already be in the game. You can create a whole family tree just from Master Controller. You can reset the entire town as well, which is a godsend obviously with laggy Sims 3. And I just can't rave about this enough. This is the absolute top #1 mod that you have to download. So the second on the list is the Relativity mod, which is also by Nraas. This mod adjusts the speed of time in your game for certain things. Access this by going to City Hall, Nraas, and then Relativity, and it brings up all the options. If you want to slow your Sim day down so you get more done in the day, go to set speed and you can put in whatever you want. You can enter 0 for the default, but just so you know, the default is actually 37 as the equivalent of. So 19 is obviously around half. So I get double the amount of time essentially in my Sim day to do stuff. You can also adjust how quickly you gain skills. Anything under 1 is slower, everything over 1 is quicker, and the same goes for the motive decays as well, so you can have things going faster or quicker. I personally don't use any of those options other than the general set speed, which just slows everything down. Great little mod, recommend it. Next up is one of my favourite mods, Nraas Traveler. This mod expands the world adventures worlds that you can travel to. It will add all the worlds that you have installed as vacation destinations. So instead of the 3 that you get with World Adventures, you'll get everything that you've downloaded. So if you fancy a little trip to Twinbrook or you want to go to Bridgeport for a weekend getaway, you can do that. The thing I use this mod for the most is moving hometowns. This is absolutely brilliant because normally in the game you lose all your relationships when you move, but with the mod you keep them all. So you can contact people, chat long distance, invite them to visit, and basically just keep all your relationships intact when you move. And if you want to know how to do this, there is an FAQ section on the Traveler Nraas mod site. The next mod is another Nraas one, which is the careers mod. I mainly use this to load custom careers into the game and also to use the unemployed section. With this, you can force the game to actually have a career as unemployed, which will stop story progression giving them a career because sometimes you actually don't want them to have a job. And it's really annoying when you go back into a family that you haven't been playing and then all of a sudden they've got a new career. By the way, this happens more if you've actually got the Nraas story progression mod on, which is a much more enhanced story progression from the EA one. I haven't mentioned it in my list because I've normally got story progression turned off, but it is there if you want a more advanced story progression. So as I mentioned, with the Nraas careers mod, you can add your own custom careers, which is really cool. I highly recommend this website. I will link it down below. Missy Hissy's Job Centre. On here, you can download all sorts of careers. Look at all of these. They're so cool. Just download the ones you want and then pop them in your game. This is really cool if you've got a specific sim that you want to do something with, or something that just isn't available in the game, like the Star Trek career. Now, I promise I am going to stop talking about Nraas mods shortly, but I have to mention Nraas Overwatch and Nraas Errortrap. These are essential. I've put these both together because they both work in the background and clean up your game. Overwatch does things like resetting blocked sims or deleting excess cars, anything that's basically going to slow down and lag your game. Overwatch will do its little cleanup at 3 AM every sim night. And you can turn off the notifications for this if you want, but I quite like keeping them on because then you can see that it's actually doing its thing. But my favourite thing about this mod is if you go into the settings, you can actually select that testing cheats enable true is always on. So literally select it as true instead of false. And every time you open your game up, you won't have to type that in. Brilliant. Errortrap works in the background and it literally does what it says on the tin. It captures any errors that might render a game unsavable or corrupt, and it just basically helps clean up your game as you play. Any errors it does catch will then be shown in your files and you can just delete them. And if you're nervous and you're not sure which files are safe to delete, I've done a whole video about that too, so I'll link that down in the description as well. We're now moving on to the non-Nraas mods. This one is traits for all ages and it's really cool. You may or may not know that certain traits are only available at certain ages. So for babies, there's very few traits actually available and more become available as the life stages progress. This little mod unlocks all the traits for all ages. So when you go into create a sim, you have everything available to you. This is particularly useful if you have story progression on, because usually you will never get babies that are born with the adventurous or computer whiz trait, for example. So you end up with a much more diverse group of sims because all the babies don't have the same select few traits. I just think it's a really good addition to have in the game. And after mentioning the computer whiz trait, this now links nicely to the next mod, which is study skills online. I just find this essential because it's just so obvious. You go to the computer to study something. So it's just the same as reading a book, but you're doing it electronically. And if you have the iPad thingy, which is a premium store content item, you can study skills on there as well. Number 8 on the list is no more zombies. Don't you just hate it when you've been working on a garden and then the zombies come and eat it? Now you can turn off the full moon in the settings, but I actually like having the full moon on as it's part of the season's experience, so this mod is the solution. There's two options or flavours. One gets rid of zombies completely and the other version just gets rid of zombies at full moon, but it doesn't stop you becoming a zombie. That's the version I have installed, and I'm sure my gardener sims have thanked me for it. Another favourite of mine, which is the taxi charge mod. This is so simple, but normally there is absolutely no incentive to buy a car in The Sims 3 because it's always free to take taxis everywhere. So this mod literally charges you for when you go anywhere in a taxi. There's different prices whether you're a child, adult or elder, and it just adds a bit of realism and makes it worth buying a car when you're spending all your money on taxis. This creator has created a few mods and put them all together as builder stuff, although you can download them separately. So the one I use is Buy Build Restriction Choker. And what this does is it unlocks all the community objects to be available on residential lots and vice versa. And it's just really useful for building lots. Another mod they have on there is having the auto roof automatically off, which I don't actually have, but you could download that as well. Check it out, but I really think the build by restriction choker is very useful. Now, I did warn you in the title that this was going to be 10-ish, so here is number 10-ish. One more slot, please, is very much skirting the line between custom content and a mod. But because you download it as a package file, which is where the mods go, I've decided to put it in here because it is essential, so I feel like it should go in my essential mods video. This is a very clever little object placer, and I do actually have an entire video dedicated to how to move objects around with the One More Slot Please. But if you are keen on building and you like cluttering up your homes and just moving objects anywhere, I highly recommend you get this because it is actually game changing. So I will again link this down below, and I know this is a sneaky little one at the end, but I couldn't resist. So that concludes my video on my top 10-ish must-have mods for The Sims 3. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and as usual, I would love to hear from you if you want to leave a comment for me. Just as a reminder, everything I've spoken about, all of these mods and my suggested videos will all be in the description links below, so you should have everything you need. Happy simming! Thanks so much for watching. I'd really appreciate it if you could like the video and if you could subscribe to my channel. If you'd like to hit the bell icon, you'll receive updates of when I upload a new video. And obviously, please share with your friends if you enjoyed it. Thanks very much. See you in the next one.